It was a rainy Thursday evening in the small village of Edelstein, a quaint town nestled between the Bavarian Alps and lush meadows. The cobblestone streets shimmered under the soft glow of the streetlights as a gentle breeze swept through the trees. It was the kind of place that seemed untouched by time. And that's exactly why I came here. I, Thomas Weber, an entrepreneur from Frankfurt, have fled to this village after everything went wrong. I needed distance, and I needed quiet. But there was no escaping what had happened. Not really. You see, I wasn't just running from my job. I was running from my grief. Her name was Anna. She was a vibrant, free-spirited woman who made music a part of everything, her life, her world, and for a time mine. A musician and artist who didn't fit into my meticulous, structured life. But for the few years we spent together, I didn't care about that. We made it work. Until that night, the night we fought. It wasn't anything big, just a few angry words after a long day. But they were enough. Enough to push her away. Anna left our apartment in Frankfurt, and I thought she'd be back, that she'd come to her senses. But she never did. A call came hours later, and my world stopped. She had been in a car accident, gone in the blink of an eye. The weeks that followed felt like a blur. Everything became meaningless. My work, my routine, the things I once cared about. None of it mattered anymore. The only thing I thought about was the fight, the words I had said, the things I could have done differently. What if I had apologized? What if I hadn't been so stubborn? What if I had tried harder to understand her? I couldn't let go of the feeling that if I could just change what had happened, I could bring her back. But that was impossible, right? People don't get second chances in real life. One cold afternoon, I wandered through the village square, trying to clear my mind. The small shops, the bakery, the clock tower, the lively chatter of the locals. It all seemed so peaceful, so far from the life I had left behind. As I passed a small, dusty shop tucked between two buildings, something caught my eye. A piece of paper fluttered on the cobblestone ground near the shop's entrance. I picked it up, curious. It was an old postcard, the image of a sunset over the Alps. Simple. Beautiful. But what made me pause was what was written on the back. What if you could change the past? I stared at the words for what felt like an eternity. It was a question I had asked myself 1,000 times. What if? Could I really change what had happened? Could I change my regrets? I looked around, but no one was there. Only the quiet of the village, the soft hum of the wind in the trees. I folded the postcard and tucked it into my coat pocket, a strange sense of urgency filling me. Later that afternoon, I wandered into the village's small inn. The innkeeper, an elderly woman named Helga, gave me a knowing smile when I entered. "You found it, didn't you?" she asked, almost as if she had been expecting me. I raised an eyebrow. "Found what?" "The postcard," she said, her smile widening. "You're not the first to come looking. People find it when they're ready, when they need it most." I couldn't help but feel a chill run down my spine. What was she talking about? Was this all just coincidence, or was there something more to this postcard? She gestured to a back room. "You'll need this," she said, handing me an ornate key. "For the door." I was about to ask her more, but before I could say anything, she added, "It's time for you to go, Thomas. The door is waiting for you." The key was heavy in my hand as I left the inn and followed Helga's directions. At the far corner of the village square stood a door I had never noticed before, small, almost hidden beneath ivy and moss, as if it had been waiting for me. I approached it, heart racing, and slid the key into the lock. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit hallway. I stepped inside, and that's when everything changed. I found myself standing in our old apartment in Frankfurt. It looked exactly the same as it had before the accident, before the fight. The walls, the furniture, the warmth of the place. The smell of Anna's perfume still lingered in the air, as though she might walk through the door any second. I looked around, disoriented. Was this a dream? Was this real? And then I heard her voice. "Thomas?" I turned to see her standing in the doorway, looking at me in surprise. "Anna? Alive?" The woman I had lost. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice soft. I didn't know what to say. How could I explain what had happened? That I wasn't sure if this was real, that I wasn't sure if I could change anything. "I came to apologize," I said, the words tumbling out. "I'm sorry for everything, for the fight, for not understanding." She stared at me for a long moment, her eyes searching my face. "We've talked about this before, Thomas. You don't have to keep apologizing. But I wasn't apologizing just for that. I was apologizing for everything. For not being the man she deserved, for taking her for granted. The fight came quickly. It always did. Anna was angry and I was stubborn. But this time, I wasn't going to let it escalate. I'm sorry, I repeated, taking a step forward. Please just, don't leave. Her eyes softened, but there was something more in her expression now. Something that hadn't been there the first time. Maybe she understood now. Maybe she knew that I wasn't perfect, but I was trying. I'll stay, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, but only if you're willing to change. And in that moment, I realized something. I had already changed. This wasn't just about fixing the past, it was about fixing myself, letting go of the guilt, and accepting that life isn't perfect. People aren't perfect, but love is real. As the day wore on, I felt the weight of the decision pressing down on me. Could I stay here, in this altered world, where things had been fixed, where I had a second chance? Or did I need to go back to my real life, with all its pain and uncertainty? In the end, I knew the answer. I had to let go. I had to face reality. I love you, Anna, I said, my voice breaking. But I can't stay here. I can't live in the past. You need to live your life, and I need to live mine. She smiled, tears in her eyes. I understand. I left her standing in the apartment, the door slowly closing behind me. As I walked away, I knew I was leaving something behind, but I was also gaining something, the peace to move on. I had changed. I had learned to forgive myself. And I would carry that with me wherever life took me next. I woke up in the same village inn, the key still in my hand. The postcard had vanished, but the lesson stayed. Samantha was gone. Anna was gone. But I was still here, and I was still alive. And that was enough. The rain had stopped, and the village was quiet once again. I was ready to move forward, to live the life that had always been waiting for me. Ready to improve your English in a fun and engaging way. Start learning through stories today. Subscribe to Learn with Godson and dive into captivating stories that will help you expand your vocabulary, understand sentence structures, and practice pronunciation. Stories make learning English exciting and memorable. Join us on this journey and watch your language skills grow with each story. The voiceover in this video is given by Learn with Godson. Copying or re-uploading is prohibited.